another thing a lot of people have asked about is spiccato, and it's such a big topic, and we can't really kind of, go all the way into it within this format. But David has looked at the topic extensively in his German bow course. But we could maybe just kind of talk a little bit around it. And I mean, Evan's talking about Mozart spiccato and these different strokes. But Remy's asking about moving from spiccato with 8/16 to a longer note smoothly.
Overhand hold. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there are two things that I would want you to look at. There are each of the strokes at any sort of off the string stroke versus any sort of legato stroke, they have different arm positions. So you said you don't have the problem with the overhand hold, and that's probably because since it's overhand, it's already more settled in a legato plane. And so for the overhand players, you usually have to think more about dropping the elbow below the plane of the strokes so that you have more of that ability to bounce, and then when it's legato, it's in a different position. So I think that's also one of the maybe stereotypical ideas of like a feature of German bow is that it's bouncier, and that's partly because if you don't think about it, the arm position is lower, and so this is just a very natural thing to do, and then you have to think a little bit more about being on a higher position. So I'm not going to take the same bow hold and play and try to do that because it's unstable. So if I did a transition like that, I'm going to think about that different arm position for the legato. In an extreme case where you have maybe a very energized or fast bounce and then you suddenly need to stop it, there is kind of I don't know if it's a trick, but it's the idea of taking the stick off of being over the hair. Because one other, and we haven't covered this in any of the courses, so this is bonus material. The most resilient position that the bow can be in is flat hair with the stick over the hair.
Okay.
That's the most, you're going to get the most friction from the hair. That's the most resilient position. And so as you come off of that, that's cushioning that somewhat and taking, that's the same energy. One here is very consonant, and you hear that's a rounder sound because there's not as much friction there. There's also not as much bounce on the side. So you can be playing, and just by leaning the stick in, shut that bounce down. And then immediately after doing that, I would come back to a normal bow hold. But it's just kind of it's not even a stopgap because that makes it sound like it's only in case of emergencies. It's just sometimes you need all the help you can get, and just going to the legato bowing position isn't enough to shut down that bounce.